Previously on the Frontier Farmer.
Good news, our oats have germinated and sprouted. I think we'll do sugar beets in field 4 because it's a bit smaller, and corn in field number 3. Nothing quite like meandering through the forest with your newest piece of equipment, and we can get the manure very quickly spread because we want to get on with planting. But yeah, we're planting corn, so we're going to get this done, and then we'll be moving on to sugar beets. And that is job done. Right, okay, so it looks like there's a couple of weeds in here. That's not a problem. We can get stuck in our manure spread. And I think that is the muck all chucked in both fields. We've given it a spray paint. That is looking very good indeed. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Frontier Farmer at the Dark Forest. It's a sunny May morning, and we're up at Windmill Hill because we've been collecting some of the produce. We've got a trailer with the pickup here with some wool. We need to get this over to the pet accessory production to keep the birdhouses and cat trees making. We've got our honey and our canola oil, and we've got 3.5 pallets of that here, which is fantastic, and that came from our canola crop harvest last season. So we have a busy morning ahead of us to get this over to the settlement, and we need to check in on some of the crops we planted last time. We did, of course, put in some corn in field number 3, and as you can see, it's germinated quite nicely. But we have got some weeds in there because we didn't plough the field, so we will have to zap the weeds later on, and I'm thinking I'm going to spray there. And then if we work our way around to field number 4, where we planted sugar beets, we have indeed got the same situation. We've got a nice germinated root crop, but the weeds have come up quite densely, so I'm thinking that we potentially might use the weeder on that. But yeah, busy morning. I've got to get this over to the settlement, get it to the farm shop and to the productions, and then I'm going to have to come back and grab the truck so I can take some milk to the dairy because that's completely run dry. Fantastic. So that's the milk all deposited into the dairy, so we should be able to resume the productions. And I think we have quite a bit of cheese now. Also only a small top up of milk, but enough to get our butter and our cheese off and running again. And we've got 4,400 litres of butter and 1,700 litres of cheese. I think these sell best in September, so we're going to try and build up as much stock as we can for now. Aha, yes, I thought I saw Derek on his rounds, busy delivering some logs to the paper mill, and looks like to the wood turners as well. So everything has been busy and bustling, working away, and the bank account is looking pretty good from all of our settlement productions. So we'll head on back to the homestead, and it's on to drilling now, because we've got bare fields, which you can see behind the shed, ready to drill, and also stone end field behind that. So yes, it is quite a late drilling session really. I would have liked to get the crops in earlier, but there's lots of jobs on the homestead for now, so unfortunately we can only do what we've got time for. But maybe we can seek some help in the future from some of our settlers. There we go, IFA parked up. Love to use this when I get the chance to. So we've got our big new field with oats in, that's growing quite nicely, and then we've got field 3 with corn and field 4 with sugar beets. And the fields we're going to be focusing on today are Burfield and Stone End Field. I did talk about combining these two fields, but I think I'm going to keep them separate for this season and potentially merge them next season. But they need to be drilled because there's no crops in there. I think there are a few weeds, but we will just drill over those. And we did muck spread previously, so those are good with the primary level of fertilization. Crop calendar wise, May, we can only drill soybeans and sorghum, and yeah, I think I'm probably going to go with soybeans in Burfield and sorghum in Stone Endfield, because Stone Endfield is a little bit bigger and we use more sorghum for chicken and horse feed. And I think my plan of attack for these two fields, because they are smaller, is I'm only going to be utilising one of our dual drills. So I'm going to take this one and the Kirovets away. This duo drill was of course very good for our big new field, which we got oats in, and made the job quite a bit quicker, which is good news. But for Burfield and Stone Endfield, they are quite a bit smaller, so I have drilled them with the dual drills before and it was a little bit fiddly, so I'm going to see how it runs with just the one drill and if that will work. Of course we need to test that it will work without the front part of the drill. We can stash that away in there and get the Kirovets parked up. And yes, part of the reason for wanting to merge some of our fields is to make them bigger, so we can get some bigger equipment for the Kirovets to run, and it will make our lives and jobs much easier, and we could then potentially cope with the volume of work just on our own. Shut that down there, and we'll go hop in the International, which is our tractor of choice for this drilling. Now the cows have run out of TMR, so we'll have to do potentially a TMR fresh batch at the end of the day. But here it is, the International, freshly repainted, which is very nice. So we will be giving it its debut since being painted. Hopefully we won't get too many stone chips and too much dirtiness, but yeah, it is a tractor, it is meant to get dirty, but it was nice to give it a good old paint job last time, so we kept it nice and fresh. Right, this is the drill we want. Now, of course, I am not fully convinced on these duo drills. I am thinking that it would be good to upgrade, and oh, I am skidding all over the place. This does not seem to be working too kindly for me, but we'll see how we get on. Oh, there we go, bit heavy. We are getting some rear wheel skiddage. I think that might be because the front wheel on the drill is potentially raising up the rear wheels of the tractor. That is interesting. We can get topped up with seed and also topped up with fertilizer. Oh, this is really not working out with the International, but I remember the International pulling this when it was a dual drill, so I'm thinking maybe just the front drill might be better than the rear drill in terms of height. There we go. It is skidding all over the place. There we go. I've picked up what would be the front of the duo, and that is working much better because we have a slightly longer arm that is on the attacher that enables it to swing out and be a dual one. So yeah, it looks like we're going to have to use just this one as a solo drill. Seed and fert refilled in this one as well, and we probably didn't need to refill that second drill, but nonetheless we won't be wasting any. We'll make sure we empty it before we potentially part ways with it. Right, bare field first, and I think I'm going to try and implement the same process I did last time when we did the planting, which is drilling the rows and then coming up to finish the headland. There you go. See, I'm catching the arm when we are left turning, so yeah, I'll try and make sure that we stick to right turns, although that might be a little bit awkward. So we've got soybeans selected. Make sure we try and line up as best we can with the straights of the field, and we can switch it on, lower it away. Oh, it's telling me I need to unfold. Aha, so this is where just this drill might not work. It might be a bit offsetted, which is interesting. Okay, yeah, I'm not really liking this, but we can give it a go and see how we get on. Maybe it is just better that we have both drills running, because this one might be a little bit lopsided. Who knows? Well, that was painful. It was very difficult to maneuver this drill, and I don't remember it being that difficult last time. Very awkward indeed, and I'm not really sure as the reason why. The International was a bit struggling with the dragging. It didn't have quite the power to do that. And as you would have seen, I did miss a few corners and had to go over lots of patches again to get what we missed. So I think just doing that field has convinced me that I don't want to keep this drill any longer. I think this is going to be the last field it will be drilling, and oh, I need to make sure that we've got both drills selected with sorghum. Alright, that should be right, both selected as sorghum, and that's another reason why this drill is just not really up to scratch for me. So I'm going to get this sorghum drilled, and then we can get this drill emptied and taken over to the distribution centre, and we can get rid of it because it's just not working optimally. It's very fiddly, and it sometimes misses patches in between, and yeah, just overall not really working on the homestead. So I did have my doubts about it when we first bought it, and I thought we'd give it another season's go, and it's just proven that we don't really want that kind of complicated equipment on the homestead. So we're going to opt for potentially a bigger single drill that our Kirovets can pull quite easily. Sorghum drilled. And despite it being a bit wibbly wobbly, did manage to finish on a fairly decent row with no rows of shame, which was nice. Right, let's get this raised up now and folded away. And it's over to the distribution centre with this. We'll get the seed and fertiliser emptied from it. But I'm done with this drill. I think it's very... It's a nice drill. I think maybe I'm being unfair. It probably works for much larger open areas and field where there's no woods to contend with at the edges of fields. And yep, in those circumstances it's probably a lot better. But for us it's just not really workable. Very fiddly, and you have to raise and lower each drill rather than being able to switch on and lower simultaneously, which does add those valuable few seconds on at the end of each row, so it does make our lives a little bit harder. But we will empty this, get it sold, and then I look forward to purchasing a new drill come next season. And yeah, potentially we might want to drill some crops at the end of this season to grow over winter. So that will be interesting. But if you've got any ideas or verdicts on some good drills, potentially ones that are big enough for our Kirovets to pull, that would be interesting. Right, let's get this emptied. There we go, completely emptied, so we can cover close and head on over to the distribution centre to sell this. I think we'll take this round the back and see how much we can get for it. And that's sold, 58,000 back in the account. And of course I've remembered that we've got the Lieb here forestry machine parked up, ready to use for potentially another forestry project, but can't really see that we've got any in the future just yet. And we are back. International did us proud there, pulling a rather awkward drill. And I got to say, you certainly know when you have a piece of equipment that fits and works well versus one that doesn't. It just doesn't resonate when it's awkward. And yeah, it's just got no place on the homestead when it's going to be that complicated and waste our time. But next we need to get rid of some weeds that are in field 3 and 4 in our corn and sugar beets. So I'm wondering whether to spray or whether to just use the weeder. All the weeds are quite infantile, so they are quite small. So I'm thinking the hoe is probably the better way to go rather than getting the sprayer out. So probably a job for the farmer. There he is. Let's hop in there, and I think the sprayer is in the way of the hoe, so we will need to move it. There we go, sprayer is moved out of the way. Oh, I think there's a drawbar down there as well. There we go, a hoe is collected, and I think I'm going to try and fuel up and give the farm a bit of a service before we start. There we go, that's fueled up, so we can just roll this back round the corner. Quick repair, make sure everything is running smoothly, and that's looking good across the board. So we can head on into field 3, get our weeds cleared, and then I think we'll move straight on to field number 4. raising up, and we're weed free. Fantastic. So both field 3 and 4 is cleared, so the corn and sugar beet can grow nicely without being hindered by the weeds. Now, it was certainly much easier to run down the rows in field 4 with the sugar beets because the planting seems to be much more orderly in the rows, whereas with the corn it did look like we didn't really have too much order. The rows, I guess, kind of run more in that direction, which isn't the same direction to the longest line of our field, or the longest row of our field, so we would have kind of been working diagonally along it. So potentially we should have probably sprayed field 3 to make our lives a little bit easier, but the weed hoe did work very well in field 4 with the sugar beets. Fantastic. So it's nice to have those weeds all cleared, and I don't think we need to touch those fields again until it's harvest time, because they've got the secondary level of fertilizer, they've had the weeds cleared off now, and it's just waiting until harvest time for those. We'll drop the weeder back in here, and of course we were able to weed using the weeder or hoe because the crops are in their early stages of growth, so there's no crop destruction when it is that early, and that's because they're still very short and we're not going to be damaging them too much by running into them. So that is the benefit of getting the weeds cleared nice and early, because if we'd have left it another month, the sugar beets and the corn would have been that much taller, and driving in them would have shredded them to bits. So it's good that we saw to the weeds nice and early. Right, we can drop the sprayer off in front of the weeder. There we go, that's all back to where it was. And I think the last job for today is doing some TMR for the cows, and also getting some water spread about. So I think what we're going to do is stay in the farm hall. We'll grab the mixing wagon, and I'm going to get a load of TMR done, and then I'll move on to getting some water distributed to all of our animals. So I'll leave that with me. Job done. So we've done a fresh batch of TMR and the cows are sitting happy, and there's a good amount of spare TMR in the mixing wagon still for us to keep them well fed. And of course we managed to get about 3,000 litres of milk out of them earlier today to keep the dairy stocked, so that is good. You're doing well, girls. And all the other animals got a little bit of water, which is good, but we better make sure to close the horses up. Now these horses are being well looked after by Cassandra, who runs the pet accessory production, and yeah, they're getting their ride training and their cleanliness from there, so yeah, they're doing pretty good. Thought I'd better tidy up these big bags because they were in the way, but at least we don't have to spend money on seed and fertilizer for a little while. Now, our open garden has been busy making corn, which is the primary food we needed for our pigs, and I think we have enough now, so I think we'll look to just harvest the last bit of crop that's here, and then we can look to grow something else potentially. There we go, last bit of corn harvested, and the open garden is ready for whatever next crop we want to grow. But yes, a good amount of corn here ready for our pigs if we need it. Busy day on the homestead, but that is how we like it. We've got 2 fields drilled, one with soybeans and one with sorghum. And we will have to weed those next month after they have germinated, because those fields were not ploughed. And speaking of weeds, we did get 2 fields, field 3 and field 4, weeded, so our corn and sugar beet can grow weed free. So we'll have to look at what we can keep ourselves busy with next time, as it's only weeding, and then yeah, we'll be waiting for our harvests to come in. So I'm thinking potentially we might be able to use the leaf here and start another forestry little bit. We've got a couple of areas in the production zone that I want to clear some trees down and potentially make another road. And there's also a couple of little tracks that I need to make around the new field area. So we could get busy with that. I hope you have enjoyed watching. If you have, remember to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you've got any tips, tricks or things you'd like me to do, then feel free to leave a comment. All there's left to say is, I hope to see you again next time on The Frontier Farmer. And until then, we'll catch you later. Cheers all. Bye bye.